on the air.
Okay. I just lost the, oh, what did I do with it? Hold on.
You need an extra copy of the agenda?
No, I have it, it's just hanging around here, thanks.
There you go.
Okay. I call the zoning board of adjustment regular meeting of July 6, 2021 to order at 7:37. Call to order and statement of compliance. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the public meeting dates on the municipal bulletin board and website, by sending a copy to the Echo Sentinel and Courier newspapers, and by filing a copy with the municipal clerk. Standard board procedures. Any hearing conducted by the board is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Also, we forgot to mention that all cell phones should be shut off. We were leaving that off the agenda because we were on Zoom. So now we're not on Zoom. Please shut your cell phones because they do interfere with the recording mechanism. Meeting cutoff. Announcement is made that, as a matter of procedure, it is the intention of the Zoning Board of Adjustment not to continue any matter past 10:30 p.m. at any regular or special meeting of the board, unless a motion is passed by the members then present to extend the meeting to a later specified cutoff time. Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Yes, Mr. Aronio is currently absent and should be joining us anytime. Mr. Giannakis is excused this evening. Mr. Grosskopf?
Present.
Mr. Malloy?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Hain?
Here.
Ms. Robertson?
Here.
And Chairman Correct?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Okay, so we have the meeting minutes of May 18th, 2021. Has everybody reviewed, had a chance to look at them? Wasn't too long. Nothing much is on there. Any changes or corrections to the minutes of May 18th, 2021? No? Hearing none? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of May 18th, 2021?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. So I see everybody except Mike and Jill, because they were absent or excused.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. All righty. Now, we have the minutes of June 1st, 2021. Any corrections or changes to those minutes? All right, hearing none. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of June 1st, 2021?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. June 15th, 2021. Any corrections or changes to those minutes? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right, very good. Let's do that. Now, we have 3 written applications, but one that's actually moving forward. We have a use variance carried from May 4th, 2021 and May 18th, 2021, and it's to be carried to September 7th, 2021. It is block 11606, lots 17 and 18, commonly known as 224-226 and 230 Main Avenue. Application number 21-03Z, known as 224230 Main Street LLC. The applicant proposes to merge the existing 2 lots and construct a 2-story residential apartment building consisting of 6 units on the ground floor and 5 units on the second floor. The applicant is currently bifurcating the site plan approval and seeking only the required use variances at this time. So that is going to be moved to 9/7/2021 without further notice, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So you didn't need a motion and a second.
Oh, yes.
Motion and a second and a roll call.
Right. Do I hear a motion to carry that to September 7th, 2021?
So moved.
Without further notice.
Second? Without further notice, yes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I'm sorry, who's the motion?
Mike.
Mr. Malloy,
And
and,
second was,
okay, so we'll do a roll call. Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Mr. Hain?
Yes.
Ms. Robertson?
Yes.
Chairman Correct?
yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Now, we have another motion, for a request for an extension. Bulk variances, Block 12402, Lot 8, Zone R-3, 00 Oaks Road, application number 19-10Z. Known as, the applicant is 00 Oaks Road LLC. Is the applicant present?
Good evening,
Or
Mr. Chairman,
representative?
members of the board. Joshua Kudre appearing on behalf of the applicant from the Hale office of Jarrowbound Morgaft. So
Okay.
happy to see everybody again, and hope you all had a great 4th of July. So, Mr. Chairman, just very briefly, as the board will probably recall, this applicant received approval of its development application to construct a 3-story, 1-family dwelling on the property on, I believe that was May 19th of 2020. The resolution was adopted July 7th, 2020, so almost a year ago to the date. We're seeking an extension from ordinance section 172.12, which requires all construction on approved development application projects to begin within 12 months from when you receive that. So the time period would be expiring tomorrow, July 7th, 2021. So that's the extension. It's outlined in a letter submitted by our office, but as many projects have been affected by the recent COVID pandemic, and also further complicated by the fact that our client suffers from a severe medical condition, they just haven't had the opportunity to move forward with the project as of yet. So we're still protected under the municipal land use law for the 2-year change from any changes in zoning, but we're seeking the extension from that section of the ordinance. So.
Well, besides what you just mentioned, what other reasons were there that they couldn't get started?
Well, mainly, our client suffers from Parkinson's disease. It leaves him in a vulnerable position, so his efforts to work with the professionals moving forward on the project to secure the permits, resolution compliance has not been completed as of yet.
Okay.
They're in the process of doing that. There's also a little bit more information, but I'll be happy to inform the board that they're restructuring the entity to move over the controlling interest, so out of the hands of that individual who's currently in control, and hopefully that will move things forward at a more expeditious pace. So
Okay, all right, so they are moving in the direction of moving
certainly,
forward.
since we've received approval, they've closed on the property. They were the contract purchaser at the time. They have every intention to move forward with the development. It's just been hindered by the circumstances as I outlined. So
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions of the applicant's attorney? Okay. Any members of the public wish to comment on the extension of this bulk variance? Okay, hearing no members of the public. Do I hear a motion to extend, how long of the extension do you need?
for 1 year.
1 year, okay. It wasn't written on the...
I apologize, yeah,
okay.
for 1 year. Thank you.
All right, do I hear a motion to extend the approval for Block 12402, Lot 8, Zone R3, Application 19-10Z for a period of 1 year?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Yes.
Mr. Hain?
Yes.
Ms. Robertson?
Yes.
Chairman Correct?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
and good luck with that.
Thank you.
So
Be safe getting home, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Alrighty, now, we have the main attraction. Preliminary and final site plan with use variance, Block 1398, Lot 15.01, Zone Conservation. PSE&G Tower location off of Long Hill Road, application number 21-10Z. New Singular Wireless, PCS, LLC, in parentheses, AT&T. Application purposes to install temporary ballast-mounted equipment on the property for use during the PSE&G Tower Replacement Project. Is the applicant ready?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Christopher Quinn, Quinn. I'm an attorney licensed practice law in the state of New Jersey with the firm Pinellas Halpern here on behalf of the applicant, who everyone knows as AT&T.
Okay.
So thank you for the introduction. This is an application for AT&T to have a temporary facility, as you mentioned before, and I think this board heard back in the winter. The resolution was adopted in March. T-Mobile obtained approval for a temporary facility. PSC&G is in the process of replacing a number of their transmission towers down the right-of-way in this area. I know if you go into Bridgewater, they were under construction and are actually are on air and live. This particular section of the right-of-way is right now being targeted for the fall. We were told maybe as soon as September 1st, it would be off air. So AT&T, they've had a site on the transmission tower up Long Hill Road for well over 10 years. It's been providing service to this section of the community for over a decade. In order to maintain that service during this construction while PS&G takes down the tower, puts up the new one, AT&T is proposing to put antennas on the tower that was approved by T-Mobile. So just by way of background to refresh everyone's memory, that tower was a 100-foot structure, which would be on a platform base. It's a ballast-based pole, no ground disturbance for the pole itself, maybe a little bit of just minor like grading and making everything level for that for T-Mobile. AT&T would be putting 6 antennas at a center line height of 85 feet, so it would be below the T-Mobile antennas on this 100-foot pole. They would also put their equipment on the actual platform itself, on the other corner away from the T-Mobile equipment. So the utilities and everything else, you'd use the utilities that T-Mobile would be installing as part of that initial tower, utilizing that, and that would be used just for a temporary solution during the construction phase of this project. And then ultimately, they'll put their antennas back on the new transmission tower. So that's effectively the project. It's pretty straightforward. I have our civil engineer, Mr. Norris here, who testified, I guess, in the winter for the T-Mobile application. He can answer questions as well for you, reiterate what I just, I guess, represented in my introduction.
Yeah, okay. Could we swear in their expert and ours too?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give with regard to this application will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Sure, it's Alec, A-L-E-C, Norris, N-O-R-R-I-S.
Thank
Swear in,
you. Liz. Liz, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give with regard to this application will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
okay. Now, I assume you're a licensed engineer, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll give you my credentials. I graduated from Rutgers University College of Engineering with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering in 1993. I've been designing telecommunications sites since 1999 and providing testimony at zoning boards since 2007. And as Mr. Quinn said previously, I provided testimony in January for the T-Mobile application, and I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey.
Okay. You're qualified. Nothing changed between now and then, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Proceed.
Okay, so you heard the introduction I gave for the board.
Yes.
Please correct me if there was anything I said that was inaccurate, but otherwise I'd just like you to go through a rundown of what this project is and just, I guess, show it on your plan too.
Sure. Yeah, everything you said was fine. I think it's out or not.
Yeah, take it out. You can move with it.
Yeah, so I have the Z4 sheet here. Everybody, I think, is probably familiar with the site by now with the access off of Long Hill Road. So I have the Z4 sheet. This is the plan set, revision 3, dated April 22nd of 2021, that everybody, I believe, should have in front of them in the packet that was provided. On the left side of the plan here, we have basically the compound plan. This is it's showing the future T-Mobile ballast frame. It's essentially 20 feet by 20 feet. And T-Mobile's equipment cabinets will sit on the ballast frame itself. And then it's going to be surrounded by a 6-foot chain link fence, which is not shown on these plans, but according to I believe is the engineer's review letter, we'll make sure we update the plans to show that future fence. And then in the center of the ballast frame will be the 100-foot tall tower that's to be installed by T-Mobile. On the right-hand side of the sheet here is the elevation view, which shows the 100-foot tall pole. T-Mobile's future antennas at the top with a center line elevation of 95 feet, and then AT&T's proposed antennas underneath them with a center line elevation of 85 feet, 6 antennas are proposed, and they'll be connected to the ground-mounted equipment cabinets with coaxial cables. So it's essentially, there's no real footprint disturbance here because we're using the existing or the future ballast frame that T-Mobile's going to be installing.
And right now, T-Mobile's just finishing up getting their permits, I think, right now at this point.
That's correct. Last I heard, they were still getting the building permit, so I'm not sure exactly where they are in that stage, but I anticipate them constructing pretty soon.
Within the next couple weeks.
I would think so.
Okay, and again, there's no increase in tower height here?
Correct.
There's no increase in terms of the footprint of the facility?
Correct.
As approved? There's no, we're not adding more than 4 cabinets to this tower, correct?
No, we're just adding two cabinets and then a small frame for ancillary equipment.
We're not increasing the width of the structure?
No.
No excavation outside the approved site or compound?
Correct.
Not speeding any concealment efforts?
What's that?
Not speeding any concealment efforts of the tower itself?
Right.
And again, it'll comply with all prior approvals, and we're, again, seeking all conditions of approval that T-Mobile had to apply
Correct.
here to. I think that's the extent of testimony. We have no objection to the review letters that we received. No comments will make any changes.
Yeah, I think there was
in
one
that.
question about how often the site would be visited. Typically, these sites are visited once every 4 to 6 weeks.
Not just to check to see if any damage or things like that, or?
Yeah, just make sure there's no issues or whatever. And then, like I stated before, we'll revise the plans to add the future fence that T-Mobile was approved for around the top of the ballast frame.
Liz, do you have any questions of that?
I don't actually, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Members of the board, do you have any questions of their expert?
Sure.
Yes, okay.
So the construction of this is being done by T-Mobile, correct?
So the initial ballast frame and tower is being done by T-Mobile. That was what was approved back in January. And then AT&T is just going to be co-locating on the same pole. Yes.
So do they have their own people then come in separately, or is it all being done by the same?
So AT&T's construction people will come in afterwards. T-Mobile, I expect them to be building within the next couple of weeks, as we just stated. And they'll do the electric and telephone. They'll do the ballast frame with the tower and everything else. And then AT&T, once they presumably we get approved tonight, they would come in after they get their building permit, and their own people would install their cabinetry.
The only reason I ask, and it wasn't necessarily a concern of mine, but I seem to recall that a lot of the discussion that we had in the last was about having certain types of qualifications, like an engineer on
Yeah.
site, and then some qualification that they were not going to, because there was gas lines that were
Disturb
nearby.
gas
Sure.
lines, huh?
So would the same requirements would be placed on, although I assume that the construction would be a lot less major in terms of what AT&T would be doing, because they wouldn't be putting up the entire site, they would just be putting those things. But I assume we'd want the same sort of requirements.
Well, the only thing is they're placing their cabinets on something that's already built, and once it's built, it's not.
No, but I
changed.
thought the issue was more of like the machinery that was coming in and out.
Oh,
whether-
well, what machinery would they
You
be
have to
using
bring
to
in
put
some sort
those?
of-
Yeah, I mean, so they will have large equipment to install the ballast frame as well as the tower itself. And so I know that was a concern
Yeah.
initially with T-Mobile. For AT&T's, it'll be much less intrusive, just a couple of cabinets on the base, and then the antennas up at the top.
But in terms
So
of the equipment they have to bring in to do that, is it similar types of vehicles, or?
I don't think it would be quite
Okay.
as much.
I just didn't
because-
know if we wanted to put that same requirement on them that we had on the prior one.
Okay, well, I guess the requirement would be that any equipment that they do bring in to mount their cabinets and/or antennas on the pole would have to operate outside of any of the gas line areas.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's-
whatever the
yeah.
same thing we put on the original.
Yeah, and that's
was
what we
carried.
proposed
Yeah.
for no disturbance to be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's my only
because obviously they can't be running over gas lines.
Right.
But, any other questions by board members? No? Okay. Any questions by the public? Yes, come on up, sir. No, you have to come up here and identify yourself and ask the question, because it has to be on the record.
No, I was just curious how you get
Could you just state your name and your address, please?
Joe Kilroy, 130 Magna Drive.
Okay, and what question do you have of their expert?
How do you get the antennas up the pole? Are you using cranes or are you using?
In this case, we'll use either a bucket truck or a small crane. Yeah, I don't envision anything too drastic. I mean, it's 85 feet, so
Yeah.
I don't think anything too crazy.
Okay, I was just curious.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Come on up, sir.
Hi, Larry Fast, Long Hill Road, and I'm glad you touched on the gas pipeline, because I wanted to bring that up as well. So there are already parameters from the T-Mobile installation. I was just curious, is anybody maintaining contact with Williams Transco to make sure that they've got extra inspections with all this heavy construction going on in that right of way?
Yeah, I actually met at the site with them, with representatives from the gas pipeline a few months ago. We talked about the whole plan of attack and everything that needs to happen safety-wise and everything else. So they're fully in the loop with what needs to happen here.
So both T-Mobile and AT&T, in the sense that you're representing?
Yes. Yeah, it was for
Okay.
basically for the whole design of everything. They did like a stakeout of where the pole,
Line
the
was.
pipeline is, and we discussed, all the requirements.
Okay, good, thank you. Sure.
I don't know, will there be another question and answer period at the end about the whole up?
No comments. This is your time to ask, yeah.
Because these are more, I just had a few questions about when the temporary site is retired and it goes back to the new site.
All right, well,
Should I
you
bring
can,
that
you
up
can
now?
pose that question to
It's
the
actually more, it might be more of the board, which is, the question was, when these cell sites first went in on the last tower in the early 2000s, there were variances required, there were requirements for visual screening for the adjacent neighbors and a few other things. A lot of those weren't lived up to, other ones were, but this is a new tower, a new PSE&G tower, eventually, on a different location on that same parcel. Will it require new hearings so that we can go through all those same issues again?
Well, I can probably answer part of that, and I know, I'm sorry, I haven't found the plans that were originally approved yet. I'm still looking for them, because we're doing a big file project. The previous zoning officer, Tom Delia, already approved the zoning for the installation of the new poles. So there will be no hearing.
So, but for these, the poles, I understand that. I'm thinking more about the cellular.
Not unless the cellular equipment goes above or is going mounted on top, or, extends the height of the poles. I don't anticipate, that will be up to the carriers individually.
So, and the ground equipment, that was more like building a small city at the bottom of the last tower originally. And those were each heard individually, the singular original, and it's brick. And both have successor companies at this point.
I haven't seen any, they would have to come to me for zoning for the new sites. I don't have any information yet at this time.
Let me see what I can find in my files.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was at all those hearings, and there was a third one, but correct on this, the Morris County Sheriff's Department Communications.
Yeah.
They're not going back in at this point?
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm not aware,
That
so.
was the third co-locate on the 1928 lattice tower.
He can answer that, if you,
The county's removing.
Would you give him back the mics?
Sorry. Morris County is removing their equipment from the tower. I think they have a newer facility down the road somewhere that they're going to use moving forward.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Fast, for bringing that up.
Can I follow up on that
Yes.
question? So are you involved then with once it goes back up into the new PSE&G tower?
Yes.
You're involved with that? So you could speak to that question about,
I've heard things, but I haven't
Okay.
actually seen any documentation.
okay.
So is it true that they would have to build a new support structure closer to where those antennas were? And these support structures would be removed as far as the cabinets and things?
The existing lattice tower,
No, I mean the cabinets and those same cabinets would not support the new tower.
that'll be all new
Okay.
cabinetry and all new equipment.
as what I've seen, and I can't speak to this site because I don't know, and I haven't seen any plans with respect to that, but I've seen in some situations they've upgraded their equipment, and other situations they've used the existing. Depends on the location of the new structure,
Right.
the replacement tower, depends on the proximity.
Okay, so that's something that we really can't speak to now because we don't know.
Correct, that's
Okay.
correct. 'Cause we just don't know.
Okay. Any other questions by board members? Okay. Any of the members of the public have comments about this project as opposed to questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to close it to the public. All right. Any other statements by the applicant?
No, again, I think this is an application where the board is taking jurisdiction because you approved this previously in March. We're not expanding any non-conforming conditions. We're not increasing the height. We're not going further into the setback. So I would just ask the board to look favorably upon this. AT&T is trying to maintain service to the community and not lose it despite this outage being caused by PSE&G's project.
And using the same base structure
What was previously approved.
as T-Mobile?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. The only thing that we want to put in there as a condition is that you do make sure that the gas lines are protected in any work that's done by AT&T, with T-Mobile or in addition to T-Mobile.
That's acceptable.
Chairman, some of the conditions that were imposed on T-Mobile that the board might consider imposing here is that requiring the applicant not to store any equipment on top of on the ground above the gas pipeline. The applicant should also ensure that any cranes, outriggers, any of that will be placed at least 10 feet from the edge of the pipeline in doing the construction, and that the applicant will provide the gas pipeline operator at least 14 days notice prior to any construction beginning that may occur in or around the location of the pipeline.
Okay.
That's what was imposed upon
Would,
T-Mobile.
That's acceptable.
That's acceptable? Okay, so we'll put the same conditions, which is...
And this one, as the applicant already indicated, the applicant will amend the plans to add the 6-foot fence.
Right.
Yes.
Which T-Mobile's going to put in anyway.
Yes.
You're just going to mimic it. All right. Hearing no more questions or comments, would you like to start the deliberations, Mike?
Sure. So this application, I think, is pretty straightforward. Really not a lot of disturbance. It's just another ornament hung on the structure there, so I'm in favor of the application.
Okay, Mr. Rosenberg, would you like to continue?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with Mike. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's any substantial change to what we've already approved back in, or was it January? So I would be acceptable. I would find this acceptable.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Ditto.
Well, that was simple.
No, I'd like to say that, yes, as long as all of the precautions are put in place, then I'm in favor of this.
Okay, Mr. Hain?
I have no problems with this at all.
Okay. All right, Jill Robinson?
I'd be in favor as well.
Okay. I feel the same way. I think that this is really not being any more intrusive to the neighborhood. You're using the same structure as the base as T-Mobile. You're just putting some extra cabinets and putting some more antennas on that same structure that T-Mobile's building. Just reiterate the safety aspects and our precautions for the gas, because no matter what's being done on that site, we have to be careful of any underground structures and things. So I would also be in favor of it, and we can't do without cell service now, so it's a good thing. Okay, take the roll call, please. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Jumping ahead. Do I hear a motion to approve this application?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Grosskopf,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Hain,
Yes.
Ms. Robertson,
Yes.
Chairman correct?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations. May the force be with you. All right, any new business, old business?
Not for me at this time, Chairman.
No, could you just give us a rundown of what's coming up?
Yes.
And
So we-
are these microphones going to be fixed anytime soon?
Yeah, right.
What's that?
Are the microphones, are they going to fix them anytime soon?
They're better than they were the last time. I
Yeah,
can
that
only
doesn't mean they're better.
Except it sounds like it's going to blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, that could be, oh, yes, thankfully, we have a professional here.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a big hammer? You need a bigger hammer?
The rebalancing.
Oh, yeah, hey, you want this hammer?
So I would first say, oh, that's already up. So I would first say to the board that, and for members of the public, because this question has come up, that on evenings like tonight, when we have a short meeting, obviously, some members of the public have been less than enthusiastic about the fact that we weren't able to put anybody else on the agenda. And to that unfortunately, the way it works with statutory requirements and getting notices out,
Right.
it's really out of our control, because like an application like we have had that's been carried, like Main Street right now, we did not find out that they were asking to be carried and they were not ready to go forward with testimony.
Until late.
Correct. So I was not able to get anybody, quickly back onto the schedule to be able to cover.
Because they have
So-
to publish notice. That would-
Correct. They have to publish notice, and, and there are very strict guidelines for that. So for members of the public who happen to be interested in or watching this hearing tonight, if we end it's not because we, neglected an applicant to get them on. It's just we literally
Bless you.
could not, based on the schedule.
Yeah.
So that being said, we have, on July 20th, we have 2 pools coming up. There's another Main Street application for a use variance and a site plan that I had scheduled for July 20th. It has since asked to be moved to August. That will be heard on August 31st. August 17th will be the use variance for 1552, 1554 Long Hill Road that we discussed at our previous meeting with regard to adding a special meeting. So they will be heard on the 17th of August. And on August 31st will be 329 Main Street. On September 7th, we will move forward with 224, 230 Main Street. And then, Ancona Restaurant, I anticipate to be scheduled for the end of September.
Okay.
So that's what we have pending right now.
Very good. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So there's nothing on August 3rd.
No, the board did not remember,
Yeah.
that was discussed originally, but the date that was chosen for this, to add the meeting in August was August 31st.
Right, okay,
Which is fine, because I won't be here August 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So that's good.
right.
Worked out perfect. All right, great. So since there's nothing else, thank you for the update. At least
Absolutely.
we know what's coming up, and it looks like we're going to be busy and moving a lot of projects.
Oh, I just want, so the
Yes.
August 17th one that we talked about, that was the one we talked about last time.
Correct.
There's 2 on that day?
There's one,
Oh, so
just
the other
one.
one fell off, because wasn't there,
Well, we discussed putting, I discussed it as a possibility for a carryover, if we had heard one of the main, so we have 2 Main Street applications pending. But when we were, looking over it, and as my brain was working through it, there's no reason to do that, have that date as a carryover, since you added August 31st.
okay.
So if there's, well,
So they're okay.
and now it's,
So they're, maybe not okay, but they're okay that we're getting it done on August 17th.
correct, yes. Well, that particular application, which is 329 Main Street, they asked for an August date. So because we already had one scheduled for August 17th, I gave them the August 31st.
Okay.
Great, terrific.
So it kind of worked out,
Yeah.
the schedule.
So, all right, hearing no more business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.